you can't tell from looking behind me, well, first off, thanks for trying to watch this video. Hope you find something interesting in it. My riding season's over. I don't have an enclosure, nor do I want one. So as soon as this happens, well, game's over. So I'm gonna get to some of my favorite stuff, which is maintenance. What I want to do, I've already changed the oil in the transmission and the engine, but I want to take apart the front end, check out the bushings. I love my pressure washer. Sometimes you can, instead of washing dirt off, you can wash dirt in. So I'm gonna pull my A-arms and inspect the bushings, and then I want to get my subframe off, pull my differential. It leaked last year, or this last riding season, and then it stopped leaking. That doesn't instill a lot of confidence in whether or not it's going to stay not leaking. So I'm gonna pull it out, probably open it up, see how the insides are faring after a few seasons, and I want to pull out the prop shaft, drive shaft, whatever you want to call it. Check out those U-joints. Hopefully it's just disassemble, inspect and reinstall. But if anything's broken in there, I'll do what we need to do. I'm also planning on doing some maintenance on the clutch. Nothing real interesting, but if anything does come up that's interesting in there, just replacing some wear parts, maybe somebody will find that interesting. I'll film it and put it on the internet so it can get ignored like the rest of the videos. In any case, that's what I'm planning on doing for a while, and again, maybe something interesting will be in there. First things first, we got to take apart that front end. Okay, so I've already disassembled the front end. Part of what I wanted to do in this maintenance is to actually clean the radiators real well. I pulled this coolant line to the intercooler radiator so I could swing it out of the way. I'll show you, I just took some pictures. It was getting cold out. Water was freezing on everything, and I really wanted to get done before that snowstorm hit. This is stuff that I used. It's pretty strong stuff. It did a good job, followed the instructions, and I keep the radiators really clean, but I was really surprised at what still came out of it. So I guess it's what's left to do now is just to get to pulling the front end apart. Okay, you could see when I was servicing that A-arm, I've done all 4 of them. I wasn't gonna bore anybody with filming that stuff, but that the ball joint was kind of rusty. The boot is split. I was just going to take the lazy way and say I'll just service on the machine. I can take it apart, scoop out the bad grease, put in new good grease, but that's a lot of work later to be lazy right now. So I called Super ATV, and it's not, they sell boots for the 300M ball joints. They sell the boots for the 300M ball joints. What that would mean to anybody. But you can't look them up on their website, at least that's what the tech guy on the phone said. You gotta just call a tech if you need them for these 300M ball joints. These are the 1.5 inch forward high clearance A-arms from Super ATV. It was like 30-35 bucks for 4 new boots, even though only 2 of them are ripped. It's nice to have a couple extra on hand. I'm not entirely sure how these are held on, but I don't know, see what kind of mess I can make of this. I'd like to fix it right, so that's the next step. Okay, that was really stupid easy to do. I wasn't watching the camera much when I was doing it, but essentially, take some pliers, rip the old one off. Super ATV told me that it might be glued on, but no, it's just press fit. Line it up real good, tap it with a dead blow or a rubber mallet, reassemble. Super easy to do. I'm glad I took the time To do it, I still got the other one to fix, but I'll do that off camera. So yeah, that was a lot easier than I thought it was. Cool. Okay, next step is pulling the front sway bar, or what the fuck?
Are you stupid or something?
Front subframe. So we've got 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. We got 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. I've had it out once before, but I don't really remember why. But in any case, the whole point of this, I want to get the differential out. So I don't know if I'm going to just take it apart and reseal it or what. But the prop shaft, drive shaft, whatever you want to call it, a bit over a year ago, it was submerged. It hasn't given me any reason to think that it's that water got into the joints. Everything seems pretty tight, but it's middle of winter. Now's the time to check that stuff out and see if I need to do anything about anything. So that's why I'm doing all of this. So yeah, next thing is to pull that front subframe out.
You can catch me in the pit. I'm breaking necks and I'm wilding out. Reckless energy, I'm never signing out. Throw my elbows up and my money out. 'Cause I can't keep down, so let's run it up. Gotta keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Gotta keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left.
Okay, the next step is to get my prop shaft out so I can drop the differential. I've been fighting it some. Got to punch this roll pin out. Got my little air hammer here. I don't think it's up to the task. I'm gonna give it one more whirl here. I've had this soaking overnight with some penetrating oil. So I'll see if that did any good, and if not, I might have to get some more firepower involved here. So I almost forgot to unplug the electronics for the 4-wheel drive. Don't forget that. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Gotta keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Well, here it is. She's out. Like you were watching, I had in my head that I needed to get this clamp off because where the vent tube attaches to the frame, I thought that they were much harder to get off, and I didn't want to risk breaking them. But they're super simple. So untouch or just unclip them, 2 spots, and then you can twist it off of where it vents up into the chassis, and then you're good to go. a little bit of heat on the yoke, and she popped right off. So now over to the bench. I'm not going to dig into this yet. I mean, I am going to reseal it. A reseal kit's only like $100, and since it was leaking, for a while there, there's no reason not to reseal it since I've got it out. Well, I got the differential out. Well, I got the prop shaft disconnected. Here we are. Luckily, the carrier bearing is still nice and tight, so I'm not gonna have to fight with figuring out how to destroy that to get it off in order to press on a new one. All three U-joints need to be replaced. The rear two, the one off the transmission, and the one in the center, what would that be, right before the carrier bearing from the rear. They're not worn out, but the grease is all dry in them, and for me to grease them, I'd have to pull them out so that I can get the caps off. At that point, why wouldn't I just replace them with a greasable joint? The front one's completely clapped out. I'll show you when I take them apart just how bad, because it's pretty rusty in there. So what it took to get that roll pin out, this roll pin, was a great big gun. I went over to Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight's only about 5 minutes from me, so I went there and I bought the biggest air hammer that they had. And this sucker, she thumped it about 6 times and sent the pin a-flying. I guess there's something to be said about having the right tool for the job. So, yeah, don't mess around with a small air hammer. Get something with a little bit of balls to it. So here is the differential. Now, you can see where she was leaking, but like I said, she stopped. And the seal kit's not expensive, and I kind of want to look inside. The dogs are fighting. Get him, get him, get him. There you go. What are you looking at? Get him! Get him! We finally have a warm day. It's above 40. Get some of that snow melted. And the dogs are loving being outside. So where was I? Yeah, the seal kit's inexpensive. I want to see the inside of this anyways. I mean, while it's out, I might as well take it apart. That's kind of what I do. I take apart things that still work. So I need to get this cleaned up. For example, you can see how it's all dark and nasty, and then the other side is just fine. All these scars are from when I initially upgraded from stock axles to the Super ATV 2.0s, the Rhino 2.0s, and I couldn't get an axle out. If I have any footage of that, I'll put that in here. Okay, well, things have escalated. I'm giving it all I can to yank that out, and so far I've managed to pull the axle clean out of the joint. So when I reassemble everything, a lot of people will just put bolts in where the pin goes. Depends on who you ask if that works well or not. I'm gonna put a pin back in because people say that you'll get vibrations and it'll loosen up, or it'll like waller out the holes. And that kind of makes sense to me because, one, I couldn't drill this pin out. It's hardened, so it's basically, it's a spring, and I'll show you here. So it's not like a regular roll pin, it's wound up in there, so it keeps tension on things. And I just assume put it back to the way smarter people figured out it should be to begin with. So next step is take advantage of the fact that I can clean up some of these parts with the garden hose out front, and yeah, get things cleaned up so that I can get some real work done on these this weekend. One other thing, I'm not going with the factory joints. I didn't like I know that non-greasable joints are stronger because they're not drilled in the center to let grease pass through them, but I try not to be overly abusive on this, and I would rather be able to service the parts on it. So asking around, I got some Spicer replacements. This one is for that one's for the transmission side, or the one at the transmission, and these other two are supposed to be for the smaller joints at the front differential and at the carrier bearing. So that's the plan. I hope they work. I got them from O'Reilly's. It was way easier than ordering them off of eBay or whatever. So yeah, no, I'm just gonna clean some parts and try and get things set so that I can get at it this weekend when I've got more time to really dig into stuff. Okay, with the differential all pulled apart, I cleaned up things as well as I could with brake cleaner and compressed air. You'll notice when I pulled this, wrap these rollers with rubber bands or your wife's hair tie or whatever. Save yourself a lot of headache. Now, this, yeah, this is a seal. This is a seal that had leaked on me, but then mysteriously stopped. So, which is why I'm doing all of this. The kit was not expensive, so I'm gonna go ahead and reseal everything. I thought about just leaving the pinion seal, but it's out. The seals aren't that expensive, so I'm just gonna change them all and then be done with it, so I don't hate myself later for not changing that and then it starts leaking, which would be my luck. So yeah, I'm gonna knock out the seal, pull out the seal, put it all back together. Clearly I don't possess the right tools to do this efficiently, but one thing I wanted to make sure I didn't do was to put any pressure on the inside here, because I didn't want to collapse the inside. Right now it felt like it bottomed out. There's an even amount of case showing around, and it seemed really important to get it all the way down, because this part of the pinion gear is obviously it's seen weather, so I cleaned it up as best I could, but this is rough, whereas where the old seal was riding at is nice and smooth. I imagine that if this wasn't seated all the way and it was on where it hadn't, the old seal wasn't riding on already, this pitted part of the pinion bearing, or the pinion gear, would probably ruin that seal pretty quick. Hey buddy, you come to help me? You come to help me out, buddy? Yeah, you're a good boy. You're a good boy. Yeah, hi.
I'm not in it, am I?
No.
Last
Why would
thing
you be worried about
Last
that?
thing I want is my big mug in the back side of the video.
that wraps up this first part of this winter disassembly, maintenance, inspection part. I'm gonna do a second video after this one, covering the rear with the clutch, and I got a jacked up bearing. It's not fun, but you'll see that. And so the front's all back together. It was a lot of work, but it's worth it to do, knowing that when we go traveling, we're not going to be the ones, hopefully, that are broken down on the trail. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was entertaining, and that it might have been a little bit, I don't know, informative, whatever. In any case, if you liked it, look for the next video, and thanks for watching.